I'm going to tell you something most people don't want to hear. You can't force someone to miss you. You can't text your way into their thoughts. You can't convince them with long emotional messages. You can't reason someone into feeling something they've stopped feeling. And you definitely can't make them regret losing you by chasing them. Because the moment you chase, you remove the one thing that actually creates value after a breakup, your absence. And here's what nobody tells you. The chasing doesn't just fail to work, it actively makes things worse. Every text you send that goes unanswered confirms to them that you're still there, still waiting, still available. And available is the opposite of missed. Think about it. You don't miss your phone when it's in your hand. You miss it when it's gone. People work the same way. They don't miss what they can reach at any moment. They miss what's gone, what's changed, what they can no longer fully access. So today, I'm going to show you 5 psychological moves that naturally make her feel your absence without you forcing anything, without manipulation, without games, without sending the perfect calculated text at the perfect calculated time. Just 5 shifts rooted in psychology, rooted in self-respect that change the dynamic completely. And if you do this right, she won't just remember you. She'll feel the difference of you not being there, and that feeling is something no amount of chasing could ever create. Before we dive deeper, a quick message. If you've been learning from my videos and you want to support this work, you can subscribe to me on Facebook with a paid membership, send stars, or join my YouTube channel's paid community. Your support helps me create more powerful content for you, and I truly appreciate every bit of it. All right, now let's continue. 1. Disappear with purpose, not emotion. The biggest mistake people make after a breakup is reacting emotionally, and it's completely understandable. You're hurting. You're scared of being forgotten. You're scared that if you go quiet, they'll just move on and never think of you again. So you stay present. You text. You call. You watch their stories the second they post them. You send something casual, just to keep the line open. You try to stay in their peripheral vision because disappearing feels like giving up. But here's what's actually happening. Every time you reach out from that place, every time you make contact out of fear, you become predictable, manageable, easy to ignore. And people don't miss what they can predict. When you disappear, not out of anger, not out of spite, not as a tactic designed to make them panic, but out of genuine self-control, out of a quiet decision to protect your own energy, something shifts. Suddenly, there's space where you used to be. And the human mind doesn't like empty space. It fills it. Her mind starts filling in the gaps. What is he doing? Why hasn't he reached out? Is he okay? Has he moved on already? And just like that, without a single text, without a single call, you're back in her thoughts. Not because you pushed your way in, because you left, and the leaving created a vacuum. That vacuum is where missing someone begins. But disappearing alone isn't enough, because what you do during that absence is what really determines everything. 2. Upgrade your life quietly. Most people make the same mistake when they're trying to show they've moved on. They perform it. They post constantly. They flood their stories with highlights. They want the proof to be visible, loud, undeniable. Look how well I'm doing. Look how much fun I'm having. Look at who I'm becoming without you. And it reads exactly as it is, forced. And forced never creates the feeling you're looking for. Real impact, the kind that actually creates curiosity and second thoughts, comes from subtle, genuine change. Because there's a difference between performing growth and embodying it. When you actually put the work in during the silence, when you get quieter on the outside and more focused on the inside, something in you starts to shift. Your posture changes, your energy changes, the way you carry yourself in a room changes, and that kind of change gets noticed, not because you announced it, because it's real. Maybe she sees something small. A photo that wasn't meant to impress. A comment from someone else about how different you seem. A brief encounter where you just feel different. And that's when the thought enters her mind. Was he always like this? Did I see him clearly? Did I lose something I didn't fully appreciate? And that thought is the beginning of missing you. Not the posts, not the highlights, not the carefully curated image of someone thriving. The real, quiet, undeniable change. That's what creates curiosity. And curiosity is more powerful than jealousy. Jealousy makes someone defensive. Curiosity makes someone lean in. But here's where most people ruin everything, because they can't resist doing the next thing. 3. Don't react, even when you want to. At some point, there will be a sign. Maybe she texts you something small, something casual, low stakes, easy to dismiss as nothing. Maybe she reacts to one of your stories. Maybe she mentions you to a mutual friend in a way that gets back to you. Whatever form it takes, she sends a signal. And this is the moment most people fall apart. They respond instantly, breathlessly, over-enthusiastically. They've been waiting, even if they told themselves they weren't. And the moment the opening appears, they rush through it. They say too much, they're too available, too eager. And in a single response, they undo everything the silence built. Because now nothing has changed. The dynamic is exactly where it was. She reached out, you came running. And that confirms the story she had in her head. But when you respond differently, when you reply calmly, after a reasonable amount of time, with warmth but without urgency, with ease instead of desperation, it creates a completely different experience for her. It shows something she wasn't expecting. Growth, emotional control, a version of you that doesn't unravel the moment she reappears. And that is what makes someone look twice. Not because you played it cool, because you've actually changed. Because your stability is real now. Because your world genuinely doesn't revolve around her the way it used to. And when she feels that shift, it unsettles something in her, in the best possible way. And now we get into something deeper, something psychological that most people don't even realize they're missing. 4. Become emotionally unpredictable in a healthy way. Before the breakup, she knew you. Not necessarily fully, but she had a map of you, your patterns, your reactions, how you'd respond when something bothered you, how you'd behave when you were insecure, what your energy felt like when you needed reassurance. She had you figured out. And when someone has you figured out, there's a comfort there, but there's also a ceiling. There's nothing left to discover, nothing to be surprised by, no new territory. After the breakup, if you stay exactly the same, if your energy is unchanged, your reactions unchanged, your patterns unchanged, there's nothing new to feel. She already knows the ending to that story. But when something in you shifts, when you show up calmer than she expected, more grounded than before, less reactive, less urgent, less need to explain or defend yourself, it creates something she wasn't prepared for. A subtle uncertainty, not the anxious kind. Not the kind that comes from someone being cold or cruel, but the curious kind, the kind that makes someone think, I don't fully know him anymore. And that thought brings attention back. It makes you interesting again, not because you've become someone else, but because you've become more of yourself, more settled, more self-possessed, less willing to perform, and more comfortable just existing. And that version of you is genuinely harder to walk away from. And finally, the most powerful move of all, the one almost no one has the discipline to actually follow through on. 5. Let go for real. This is the hardest one, not because it requires the most effort, but because it requires you to stop. Stop waiting. Stop refreshing. Stop replaying. Stop holding the door open just a crack, just in case. Most people can do the first 4 moves with some version of strategy in mind. They go quiet, but they're watching. They improve themselves, but they're hoping she notices. They stay calm when she reaches out, but internally they're celebrating. They become harder to read, but they're still reading her constantly. And underneath all of it, there's still a grip, a quiet need for a specific outcome, and she can feel that. People are extraordinarily good at sensing when they're being waited on, when someone's growth is actually just a performance designed to bring them back, when the silence isn't peace but strategy. Real letting go is different. It doesn't look like anything dramatic. It's not a moment. It's a slow release. It's the day you realize you went 3 hours without thinking about her, then a full day, then you stopped checking who viewed your story. Then her name came up in conversation and your chest didn't tighten. That's the shift. And when that shift happens, your energy changes completely. You become lighter, more present in your own life, more focused on what's actually in front of you, more attractive, without doing a single thing to try to be. And ironically, genuinely ironically, that is when people come back. Not because you designed it that way, not because the silence was calculated, but because you released control, because you stopped needing a specific outcome. And people are drawn to that kind of freedom. They're drawn to someone who is whole without them, someone who wanted them but doesn't need them to feel okay, someone who can genuinely walk away and find their footing. That person is someone worth missing, because when she feels like she's truly lost you, not the version of you that was waiting, not the version that was hoping, not the version that would have come back the moment she called, but the real you, the changed you, the one who has genuinely moved forward, that's when the absence hits the hardest. That's when missing someone becomes real. So understand this, making someone miss you isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but with more intention. Less chasing, less explaining, less performing grief where someone can see it, less staying available in hopes that availability will be rewarded, and more self-respect, more genuine growth, more presence in your own life, more comfort with the discomfort of not knowing. Because here's what this process really is. It's not a strategy for getting someone back. It's a strategy for getting yourself back, for becoming someone who doesn't need to chase, who doesn't need to convince, who doesn't need to perform, who simply is. And that person, the one who disappeared not out of anger but out of self-possession, who upgraded quietly and without an audience, who stayed calm when every instinct said to react, who became emotionally grounded in a way they never were before, who genuinely let go and found themselves on the other side, that person is attractive, not just to her, to everyone. And at the end of the day, that's the point. Not to win someone back, to become someone worth coming back to, someone who, with or without her, is living a life that actually means something to them. That's the most attractive thing in the world after a breakup. Not the texts, not the posts, not the carefully timed responses. Just someone who loved themselves enough to stop shrinking and started growing instead. If you found this valuable, make sure to like and subscribe, and check out the other videos on this channel, because what you're learning here is just the beginning of understanding how attraction and human psychology really work.